Caitlyn's strategy, the tension dissipates, and the Fever emerge as a legitimate contender. This is the optimal outcome, but it requires White to swallow her pride and abandon aspects of her coaching identity. History suggests this is difficult for competitive personalities. Scenario B, the Cold War. White maintains her philosophical position but makes tactical concessions. The offense evolves incrementally, avoiding direct confrontation while subtly preserving her core principles. The tension becomes a permanent, low-grade hum in the background of the franchise. This is sustainable in the short term, but it erodes trust and creates an unstable foundation for long-term success. Eventually, one side will force a resolution. Scenario C, the regime change. Ownership determines that the philosophical divide is unbridgeable. White is relieved of her duties, either at the end of the season or, in a more dramatic scenario, mid-season. An interim coach is installed, likely someone aligned with the front office's vision, and the search begins for a permanent replacement who explicitly accepts the Clark-centric mandate. This is the nuclear option, but it is far from unprecedented in professional sports. The prevailing wisdom among league insiders leans towards Scenario C. The Simons did not acquire a generational asset to watch it be mismanaged by a coach whose system does not maximize it. They have the resources, the leverage, and the institutional will to make a change if they deem it necessary. The only question is timing. One of the most fascinating subplots of this saga is the role played by the fan base. In the absence of official information, Fever supporters have transformed themselves into amateur investigators. They parse every post-game quote for subtext. They analyze shot charts to identify patterns of suppression. They amplify rumors from credible sources and dissect the credibility of podcasters who claim to have inside access. This is not passive fandom. It is active intelligence gathering. The catalyst for this behavior is trust, or, more accurately, the erosion of trust. Fans watched the Fever transform from a laughingstock into a national phenomenon, and they credit Clark for that transformation. When they see the offense stagnate, they do not assume it is a strategic adjustment. They assume it is a sabotage. This paranoia is not entirely irrational. The history of sports is replete with examples of organizations failing to recognize the talent in their midst, or actively suppressing it in favor of lesser but more system-compliant players. Fans have been conditioned to see conspiracy in competence gaps. The viral success of channels like Courtside Leaks is a direct response to this information vacuum. They provide a narrative framework for fans who sense that something is wrong but lack the vocabulary or access to articulate it. They validate the suspicion that there is a hidden drama unfolding beneath the sanitized surface of official team communications. Whether these channels are accurate or speculative is, in some ways, irrelevant. They have become the primary vehicle for the story of the Fever's internal power struggle. They have set the terms of the debate, and they have made it impossible for the organization to dismiss the rumors as baseless internet chatter. Every generation of athletes produces a player who redefines the parameters of their sport. Michael Jordan redefined the economics of athlete marketing. LeBron James redefined player agency and career management. Serena Williams redefined the intersection of athletic dominance and cultural influence. Caitlin Clark has the potential to be that figure for the WNBA. But potential is not destiny. It requires alignment. It requires an organization willing to subordinate its institutional preferences to the needs of the individual. It requires a coach willing to design a system that amplifies eccentricity rather than sanding it down. It requires an ownership group willing to invest aggressively in the surrounding talent. The Fever are currently in the process of deciding whether they are capable of providing that alignment. The alleged meeting was not an endpoint. It was an inflection point. It was the moment the organization acknowledged that the old ways of operating were insufficient for the new reality. What happens next will determine not only the fate of Stephanie White or the Fever's playoff positioning, it will determine whether the Caitlin Clark era is remembered as a golden age of Indiana basketball or as a cautionary tale about the failure of institutional imagination. As of this writing, the Fever's front office remains silent. Stephanie White continues to coach. Caitlin Clark continues to play. The team continues to win or lose based on factors that are, ostensibly, limited to basketball. But the tectonic plates have shifted. The power dynamic has been permanently altered. Everyone in the organization now knows that the highest levels of ownership are actively monitoring the deployment of the team's most valuable asset. Everyone knows that the mandate exists, even if they cannot cite its exact wording. Everyone knows that the coach is on probation, whether she acknowledges it or not. The silence is not peace. It is preparation. And when the next conflict arises, when the offense stagnates again, when Clark looks frustrated again, when a crucial game slips away in the fourth quarter, that silence will shatter. The questions that are currently whispered will be shouted. The rumors that are currently confined to fan forums will be confirmed by official sources. Until then, the basketball world watches. We watch the shot charts and the usage rates and the body language. We watch the press conferences for coded language and micro expressions. We watch the ownership suite for signs of impatience. We watch Caitlin Clark, the engine of it all, as she carries the weight of a franchise, a league, and an economic revolution on her shoulders. She never asked for any of this. She just wanted to play basketball. But in the modern sports economy, playing basketball is never just playing basketball. It is commerce, it is power, it is legacy. And the fight over who controls that legacy has only